no, 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 no!
All around me are familiar faces, worn out places, worn out faces.
Hello, it's TruthSOSeeker here again with another game of Halo Wars for you guys. I've taken a real liking to Shipmaster, if you haven't already noticed. I've been playing him a good bit recently, and I've had really good results with him. Seeing as most of the top players are also playing Shipmaster is a good indicator that he's a good leader. So, in this game, I'm playing against a Kinsano. And Kinsano is, I'm not sure what to make of her. She received a pretty big nerf in the most recent patch, but I still feel like she has some, at least semi-good options here. Now, this is the second game with this opponent. I actually just played him in the match before, I believe. I think I won that game too. I don't remember what the matchup was. But this game was a lot more interesting. So, basically, against Kinsano, I feel that she at least has the potential to go Jackrabbits, so you need to be very careful of that. And you need to make sure that she's not doing that, because if you just say go raid camp, then you could easily get overwhelmed by them. So keeping that in mind, assuming I went Apex 5th in this game, I believe that's what I did. I'm really liking, by the way, having 3 grunts at the start. I'm not used to it, since I've played so long in this game, and they haven't existed, so it's a weird feeling having 3 grunts at the start now. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and try and cap the node early. I've been trying to make games work where I actually cap nodes very early, because that early power seems like it's really nice to have coming in. This map is a very strange map, by the way. Because it's true you have the teleporters, but I feel like overall they kind of benefit Covenant. Or anybody who can do very quick hidden runs on expansions. Because you just teleport in and the base is right there. There's no approach necessary. You just gotta send a unit through the teleporter to make sure it's safe to go through, really. And that's it. So I have my Ghost going along, and I'm checking for any power I can potentially grab. If you see here, he got all the supplies in the middle. I was really hoping to try and get some. I'm looking to see if there's any rams I can potentially get off with my Ghost, not Chopper, Ghost, because I've been wanting to see if I can find something, because it's always nice if you can manage to get a couple rams off with them to try and kill Marine, especially since they're 150. I really want to try and keep some of these grunts alive if I can, because since I'm making engineers, I can actually save them. So it'd be a really nice thing if I can actually keep them alive. See here, I actually make a decision with my Ghost. I don't know if I did it right here or if I was waiting a little bit longer. I could have went for that other power with my Ghost, but I decided not to, because I'm afraid, and I've had people do this to me, I'm afraid that this Kinsano could try to take all the mini bases, and if she does that, then that gives her a free hand with Jackrabbits. Not to mention that boosts her leader point eco, in a sense, because you get a lot of XP for taking mini bases, and I've seen people who try to spam them out so that you can't take them, and they can get a lot of points stored up, and I think it's actually a really good idea. So I'm going to try and send that grunt away, and because I have the engineer to try and heal it up. One thing to note is that grunts with engineers are actually a pretty strong option against ghosts and choppers. They fight pretty well. I don't think it's the same for jackrabbits, however, because jackrabbits can always micro in and out and get themselves healed, so it's not nearly as effective. But it is worth noting that that is an option if you're not fighting against a UNSC. So I've captured nodes pretty uncontested to this point. At last we've seen some contention. I forgot to get UNSC Raid 1 there, which was a little bit annoying because I was delayed from capping nodes because of that. But yeah, I see he is obviously going Marines at this point, so I'm pretty content that I should be safe. I see he's going for a push here, and so I'm going to try and have my Suicide Grunts try and come down and get a sneak on them. I'm hoping this ramp will give me some sort of edge with it. There's a little bit of lag here. See my grunt? That one grunt squad is doing something weird. He's going into the bridge, and I'm not really sure what's going on here. But yeah, I'm trying to use my suicide grunts to focus down his flamethrowers, because I feel like that's the more important target to try and take out if I can hit something. I have 2 turrets on my base, more or less, so I feel honestly my base is rather safe from any hit he's going to try and hit me with at this point. I don't really think anything's going to really break through. Especially since I have the raid camp, I can always throw up either rangers or suicide grunts, depending on what he has, and I feel like it should be pretty effective. However, it's going to be a little bit until I can actually push off and try and hit him, because he did have a fairly sizable force. And all I have really is a suicide grunt and 3 regular grunts to try and deal with that. Not really optimal, so to speak. So something I've also been thinking about is how to actually go about getting power generators. You see, I feel like this was a reasonable time I did it here. But you need to try and get a power generator at the appropriate time, because if you do it too early, it'll kind of screw up your grunt pop. And if you do it too late, then you're going to be really suffering to get later troops out. You got to find like that happy medium. Now, I see my opponent's actually been going pretty heavy into units. So he drops that turret. I'm just going to walk out of it. The turret received a nerf in terms of building damage, and I'm assuming that's just so you can't drop it and have it cheese a turret on an actual base. I remember back in the day, whenever those things they killed things left and right. But yeah, I'm trying to just get some rangers stacked up so that I can actually fight against his troops. You saw he had a somewhat big army there, but I hit him with a good suicide grunt, and that dropped some of his pop. I still have that 1 power node on the left and right, and that's something that you maybe should try and take advantage of, is a lot of people don't exploit taking the nodes on the left and right, or not the easier ones, so to speak. See, he keeps dropping those flamers down. I'm going to try and get that suicide grunt to land. I got a really good land on that suicide grunt. I'm going to try and pull off now and save what little units I have right now. It looks like he's pulling off for the time being again. And I'm just going to try and get Locust out, because regardless of what people are saying, they're still an OP unit, because the fact that they can outrange by so much, like, there's no way that that's not a useful unit. There's no way. And I know people keep saying this, and I don't understand their viewpoint. I mean, I've tried talking with people, and they tell me that they've been nerfed and they're not good anymore, but I say, why? I know that their range has been broken, their line of sight has been broken, but their actual attack range is still ridiculously large. And, for example, watch this Locust here whenever he starts shooting. I guarantee you it's going to be a ridiculous range. Like, you see how far he's shooting from. I mean, regardless of what unit's attacking him, it takes a while to approach that. And even though he moves slower, he costs more. I mean, it's still such a good option in these, at least the mid game. Granted, in the end game, I think that they're less viable, but because the units just have so much health, they don't do anything. But I still think they're a really decent option. But anyway, enough about that. I'm scouting out his base to see what he has. He has an air pad, so I'm assuming he's going Nightling Gales, not necessarily Hornets. But either way, I'm going to want to get some Reavers out. And I'm doing something a little bit clever here, I feel. I'm assuming he's going to keep on trying to push on my base. So I'm going to try and not only sneak up an Expo, but I'm going to use the teleporter to try and get a hit on his base. Because as Covenant, your overall goal, I think, is to try and keep the enemy off of your base as much as possible. Because I think UNSC strives the more they can pressure your base. The more they pressure the... Because if they can keep you back on defense long enough, I think that they are good. Because UNSC, they seem to strive in direct engagements against the Covenant. I mean, Covenant's a very defensive playstyle, so I suppose this makes sense. So you see, I have a small army somewhat getting ready to actually go up for a potential trade with them, or base trade. And I also have units building up on defense, and I have turrets building up on defense. And I plan on using this... well, to defend, I mean, defense. Something I could have done better here, and this did end up hurting me a lot, is I should have been more protective of my locusts here. Because if I could have kept these guys alive, it would have really helped with actually stripping the base. Because once I lose them, true, I still have units that I can use to attack, but they're a lot less actually useful. So I was waiting for me to lose some troops so I could deploy that. Let's see, he's actually hitting my base here now. I'm going to go ahead and try and upgrade my turrets to anti-infantry here. Of course, that one didn't upgrade, which was annoying. And he does manage to drop this base, but you can see, like, at least in terms of the trading, I was able to destroy most of his stuff on defense with the new units I was getting. And I think this is something that you really need to try and exploit as a Covenant, is that shield combined with the turrets gives you such a defender's advantage. It's honestly just absolutely ridiculous. Again, unfortunately, since I lost all of my locusts, my DPS on his base is rather poor. His is also rather poor because all he has is actual infantry and one Cyclops. And you see he wasn't even actually able to drop anything. He killed everything on that was defending my base, but he wasn't able to actually do anything more than that. It's actually kind of funny because all his units coming back to play defense are not really able to do anything because I have so many rangers here and my engineers are able to heal. Which I thought was interesting. So I'm starting to build on my Expo. I should be honestly just trying to get units out to help defend because... or not defend, but to help actually reinforce this ongoing attack. I'm debating on when I should actually use teleport, because to this point, like, honestly, there's been nothing that's engaged my aggressive force, or most forward force, that can actually push them off. So he's starting to build turrets up. Those Nightling Gales are holding his position together, I feel. Like, I can't do enough DPS to actually make anything work. Like, he tries dropping things, but honestly... there's no real point yet. He really should just be trying to get units together. I don't know if he just had his rally point set there or what the case was. But, yeah, and here I finally see a force that I feel is big enough to threaten my army, so I'm going to go ahead and teleport my guys out. I feel like they at least did their purpose of buying me time and trying to get the enemy to kind of retreat a little bit. If you noticed, I used that teleport in the opposite direction of the teleporter I came through. And this was intentional. Reason is that if he sees my army and he tries to engage them, then if I go through the teleporter, he might see my expansion, and I didn't want that. Unfortunately, he hit me with a really good drop here, and I actually tried to extract my locusts, and out of the ones that were there, they actually all died. So I only extracted a ranger, which was, I mean, not really the most optimal. So that was a good play by him, managing to get some good hits off like that. I'm starting to throw some hunters into my army because obviously he has a good bit of flame hogs just from what he's been doing. So he's currently pursuing that one locust. I honestly thought it was going to die, so I just kind of stopped paying attention to it. But if you look at the minimap, it actually didn't end up dying. Much to my surprise, because I was assuming it was just going to be finished. So yeah, my initial army that's coming back is going to rejoin my main army, and I'm going to try and potentially, I guess, push somewhere, whether it's the middle or on the edge again. Going to deploy another Spirit support, or Spirit Assault. I think it's Assault, actually. I mean, I'm not going to lie, I feel that anytime you can deploy this, you should probably just deploy it, because it is such a good option. I mean, honestly, it's probably the best drop in the game, if you ask me. But yeah, I'm getting a shield on my Expo. I feel honestly pretty confident, or comfortable, or whatever you want to call it at this point, because I have an Expo, and I'm pretty sure he's not on an Expo, and of course that's always good, if you can manage to get that. I'm at max pop and I have reinforcements going up. I remember this spot in the game very well. Like, honestly, if this next engagement that happens would have went over well, I probably would have been fine. But whether it was my input or the game, it ends up going south real quick here. So I go in and I decide to take out this mini base. I see he's starting to push in here. And I'm thinking, should I use teleport to run away? I mean, I wasn't sure if I really needed it yet. I was doing some decent DPS with the units that I had here. I mean, I thought even about displacing. I'm like, I guess I really don't need to displace. But you see, my units are dropping off, and so I was getting ready to displace, or, again, just debating whether it was worth it. But I see he's dropping that, and I'm like, oh, I better teleport. And, of course, my teleport doesn't... I couldn't find any place to place it. So all of these units just... And I didn't have extract. And I just end up losing basically everything I had. And I'm honestly a little bit disgusted by how that worked out. Because you saw I was sitting at max pop 80-wise. And now I was down to like 18. And I know he's going to go and try and push on me now. I was just really upset. I mean, who wouldn't be upset after that? But I figure, okay, I still have the expansion. I should keep playing on, because I was honestly thinking about just resigning after that, because it was just really degrading to have that happen. But yeah, I figure I need to get my power eco really rolling. I can't really sit on Locust for too much longer. I need to try and start to get Wraiths out. You see, he's coming in for a big push here, which I think is the right decision. Obviously, he saw that big hit that he just hit me with. So, I think it's a good option to try and push now. I actually realize I need more time. So, the only option I have to buy me more time is to use displacement. So, I go ahead and DQ my leader. I try to select only like half of his army. That way, the other half can remain. Of course, the displacement messes up, and I thought it didn't go through, but it looks like it actually did. So, and the reason I only displaced half his army is because he basically has to retreat the other half, because at that point I can actually somewhat fight it. So he's just going to regroup and try and push up again. It doesn't seem like it was that big of a deal, but this did buy me probably like, I don't know, maybe like 30 seconds to a minute, which is really a lot of time for an RTS like this. And that's going to allow me to get somewhat back into the game here, that little bit of time. You also consider the shield that went up. Like, that shield going back up is going to buy me even that extra little bit of time. To the point where I'm actually able to stand up to his army now. You see, I have hunters and I have these rangers shooting at his units. I can't quite deal with his Nightling Gales, but even after losing my full army, I was able to buy me enough time to push him off again, which was critical. Without that displacement, I may have still been able to hold, but it would have been very close. Maybe even losing. So that displacement was enough to push it over the edge and keep me in the game. So yeah, I'm trying to rebuild my troops. I want to get these generators upgraded so that I can try and get to Tech 2 or Tech 3. Because once I can start pumping out those Wraiths, I can actually fight his army somewhat head on, assuming he doesn't start putting tanks into his army. I still don't have a really good option for tanks. I think they're extremely good. If you fight a UNSC and they use tanks in an endgame, that's honestly, I haven't seen anything that can stand up to it, put it that way. So, same story as before. I have a pretty decent army, so I'm going to go in and try and engage in a base trade. And I'm going to have units start stacking up on defense to try and defend against his attack. And like I've been saying, I feel this is the general thing you want to go for as Covenant. Try, again, a situation where you're defending with your shield and you're attacking with something else. Preferably, honestly, you probably just want to have them not even at your base, but if it comes down to it, this is the next best thing. See, I'm trying to adjust to what happened before. If you remember last time I pushed, I lost my Locust. So I'm trying to pay specific attention to them to try and not lose them. And at this point, I'm assuming one of two things is going to happen. Either he's going to try and retreat to deal with this, or he's going to actually push on my main. I figured since he was so far up, he was going to go for the latter and actually try and hit my base. So, because the distance between our bases is just so far away. I moved back just because my one Locust was pretty weak and I didn't want to get killed by that fire. But yeah, he's on my base now. And I'm going to just go in for the trade at this point, because That's really the only option I have here. I'm sitting pretty decent on pop. I think I all-united on mistake. And that's going to cost me a little bit because some of my units walked outside the shield. Ooh, and I got hit with another Inferno when I was looking away, which is unfortunate. I've been having bad luck with these Infernos lately. Trying to have these engineers focus on my Locust because I really want that Locust to live. But yeah, if you see on my base, it's clear that my actual base is not going to hold this time. The last 2 attacks he's done, I was able to hold just by actually having troops on defense, but it's clear this time I'm not actually going to be able to hold. Luckily, it looks like his base is not going to be able to hold my attack either, per se, so it's going to come down to a true base trade this time. And who can actually hold their base out the longest. Now, unfortunately, I don't have much that I can do in terms of DPS right now, so I'm going to have to try and get some more Locusts out to send up for help with that, in terms of base damage. I go ahead and displace him to try and buy me a little bit more time. I'm still trying to make units back on defense while my buildings on my expansion get up. Because if you saw, I had foundries on my expansion going up, and that was so I could get Locusts out. See there, I actually have 2 going up right now. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I feel like my situation isn't honestly that bad right now. I'm sitting on 3 bases to his 1, as far as I know. Something I actually could have done, that I haven't done, and I haven't really considered it an option, but I think it honestly is one, is just selecting 1 unit, and just extracting it back to my base, so that my base has a heal. And that could have maybe bought me a little bit more time in the base trade. I didn't consider it in-game, but that could have very well been an option. I had 1 Locust that got out of my base and didn't die, so I had it go towards the middle, and I'm starting to try and decrease the supply income of my opponent by doing that. So yeah, I'm trying to build shields, because I'm trying to do everything I can in my power to delay his base trade. See, I have Locust coming in now. I'm going to try and use that to help with the base trade more. And yeah, it's basically whoever's going to be faster overall. Whoever can manage to end up trading faster and not lose everything they have is going to be the side that's better here. Unfortunately, I ended up dropping another Locust here. I don't know if he has anti-vehicle or what. But yeah, see, I have another shield generator getting up. It's at like 2 seconds. I'm like, should I DQ it? It's about to get up, and it manages to get up. So I have a little bit more time on my base again from him. And I have some Locusts here now, so I'm still aiming down these turrets because he keeps building them. And I really can't let them just live because then he'll get anti-vehicle. And I don't know if it targets the natural counter. So like if you have anti-vehicle turrets, it'll only target vehicles, or it will prioritize Locusts, or vehicles in general. But I wasn't sure, so I just figured just take them out. They're targeting me anyway, and they cost a good bit of supplies to make, so why not? So yeah, aiming main now. I see he's also aiming main and doing a good bit of damage, but I feel somewhat confident because I'm sitting on 2 semi-developed bases. One's pretty developed, the other is getting there. It's mostly a production base by the looks of it. But I'm going to go ahead and get a shield on that. I try to sell like my buildings, but as I've said in the past, I feel it's pretty hard to actually do that effectively. I have trouble actually making it work properly. See, I have my Honor Guard cube, but honestly, like, the leaders just aren't that good. Other than the Chosen, they're just not that good. You can't really use them properly, and they just cost too much power. That's the end of everything, really. Like, they just cost too much power. So we ended up killing each other's mains, but I have 2 bases. I'm assuming he's grabbing an expansion, or he already has an expansion somewhere. I'm not sure. I have displacement up, so I know I can buy me some time if he ever attacks one of my expansions. But yeah, I see his army here, so even though I lost that Locust, which of course you don't want to just lose stuff, I was still not too upset about my position because I knew where he was now, and I knew he wasn't going to be directly engaging me. Of course, my army is relatively close to his, but I have teleport and I have displacement, so I wasn't so concerned. I'm regrouping my army there in efforts to try and look for his new base, because he's basically going to be forced into actually trying to defend it, because if he doesn't, then we'll just go for a base trade, and I have 2 bases to his 1 right now. So, yeah, I have some cutter games as well, just on a side note, that I'll be uploading sometime later. I know people have been somewhat asking to see that, so I hope you guys enjoy that whenever that comes out. But yeah, I see he's pushing on to my one of my expansions. I don't even know what to call it at this point. But I figure best thing I can do right now is just displace. I'm waiting for the shield to go down, because I'm kind of thinking that that's the best scenario I can get, is waiting for the shield to come down, then displacing. That way you got the shield will come back up, and you'll have even more time thanks to it. So I'm looking for a place to displace too, and I go ahead and do that. I see his base is somewhat developed. It just hit Tech 2. I'm actually having my teleport ready, and this is why. For the Inferno, because I had some bad luck with that this game, as you saw. So I was like, okay, I need to make sure I dodge this, because I knew I had to keep this army alive. I still have Extract, so if he were to try and come back to defend, I would be ready to use that. You see, I even upgraded it just so I could get my whole army if I needed to. And at this point, I'm just thinking, okay, where else could he have a base? Because there's 4 potential base slots he could have. Obviously, he's just getting back to that base. Did I manage to get the shield back up? Actually, I think he dropped the shield, so that was something I could have done better. If I saw that, I could have actually requeued the shield, and that could have bought me maybe 20 seconds. But this base is going to take some time to kill, because it is a Tech 2 base. I was checking to see if I could save the shield, but I saw it wasn't going to get up. Ironically, I had a Locust just sitting by here, so I was able to spot that he was queuing this base. And I believe this is pretty much it for the game, because he hasn't really been able to get another base up, and I believe he's on a timer right now. So, very interesting game. It was pretty close, I felt, especially after he hit me with that Inferno. I feel I was definitely on the ropes. But, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Expect to see some UNSC games in the future. And I will see you guys in another one. So, take care.